The main aim of this procedure is to provide a cost-effective and rapid molecular genotyping protocol that can differentiate between varieties of Imperata cylindrica, typically called Kogon grass, that cannot be distinguished by morphology alone. This is accomplished by first identifying and isolating tissue from a Kogon grass variety of interest. The next step is to extract nuclear and plastid DNA from the collected tissue. Next, polymerase chain reaction is performed on the extracted DNA using variety-specific primers that target sequence differences in the plastid TRN-LF region, as well as appropriate positive and negative controls. The final step is to perform gel electrophoresis on each of the 4 PCR reactions to visualize the amplified PCR products. Ultimately, the variety of Kogon grass collected is determined through analysis of the resulting variety-specific PCR product bands on the gel.
Invasive plants cost the United States about $3.4 billion annually, causing substantial harm to both agricultural and natural resources. Wild-type Imperata cylindrica, also known as Kogon grass, is one of the top 10 worst invasive weeds in the world. Kogon grass forms rapid-spreading monodominant stands that displace native vegetation and in turn the animals that depend on that native vegetation. Kogon grass currently infests 490 million hectares worldwide and about 500,000 hectares in the United States. An ornamental variety of Imperata cylindrica is widely marketed under the names of Imperata cylindrica rubra, red baron, and Japanese bloodgrass, as we will call it, JBG. This variety is putatively sterile and non-invasive and is considered desirable for its red-colored leaves. Under certain conditions, Japanese bloodgrass can produce viable seeds and revert to an all-green form that is indistinguishable from wild-type Kogon grass. As you can see, they both possess green leaves and are larger than traditional ornamental variety with larger leaves. Additionally, the reverted and wild-type plants have larger rhizomes and the ornamental variety, increasing its asexual reproductive potential. The reversion makes identification through morphology alone a trying task. Molecular methods provide a means to accurately distinguish invasive plants and plant materials that cannot be identified through normal visual means. Molecular methods are critical to safeguard against the spread and introduction of invasive plants. Application of this molecular protocol provides a means to accurately distinguish Japanese bloodgrass reverts from Kogon grass. This protocol can help prevent the co-occurrence with Kogon grass and the possible formation of viable hybrids.
The primary advantage to this technique over existing techniques, such as amplified fragment length polymorphism or AFLP analysis and things like DNA sequencing, is that it provides a very cost-effective and rapid molecular genotyping technique that can easily distinguish the difference between wild-type Kogon grass and varieties of Japanese bloodgrass. Demonstrating the technique will be Joseph Hurdy, an undergraduate from our laboratory.
First, identify a specimen from a site where Kogon grass or Japanese bloodgrass are growing and need to be distinguished from one another. Japanese bloodgrass is easily distinguished from wild-type Kogon grass by its bright red leaves. However, the Japanese bloodgrass revert is almost indistinguishable from Kogon grass as they both have longer green leaves, more leaf area, and larger rhizomes than the ornamental Japanese bloodgrass. This method can be used on fresh, frozen, and recently dried leaf tissues. If storing tissues for DNA extraction at a later date, the best method is to freeze and store the tissue at -80°C immediately. If dry storage is necessary, place the tissue into a paper envelope and store the envelope in dehydrated silica gel or other active desiccants at room temperature. If fresh tissue is to be used, ensure that DNA is extracted within 3 hours of collection to prevent degradation. This procedure uses the DNeasy plant mini-kit from QIAGEN according to the manufacturer's instructions with one minor modification. Here, the procedure has been adapted so that greater than 100 mg of fresh or frozen tissue or greater than 20 mg of dried tissue is used. First, grind greater than 100 mg of fresh or frozen leaf tissue or greater than 20 mg of dry leaf tissue to a fine powder, using 3 rounds of liquid nitrogen with grinding in a chilled mortar and pestle. Weigh the frozen powder from fresh or frozen tissue into 100 mg aliquots. If using dry leaf tissue, then weigh the powder into 20 mg aliquots. After this step, proceed with the DNA extraction according to the manufacturer's instructions. Using a spectrophotometer, such as the nanodrop spectrophotometer, test DNA quality and quantity. Good DNA yields should be between 50 and 150 nanograms per microliter, with 260/280 and 230/280 ratios close to 2.0, as seen here. Conduct electrophoresis using a standard 1% agarose gel. Verify the presence of relatively large bands greater than 10 kb with no to little streaking from RNA contamination. If the DNA concentration is high, dilute samples to 70 nanograms per microliter for subsequent steps. The PCR primers used in this protocol, indicated by the red and green arrows, are based on sequence differences between the plastid tern-LF spacer region of Kogon grass and Japanese bloodgrass genotypes. These differences come in the form of single nucleotide polymorphisms and insertions and deletions indicated by the vertical black arrows, which allow the development of variety-specific primers by locating the primers at the sites of unique sequences. The primer sequences are contained in the written portion of the protocol. For each isolated DNA sample, set up 250 microliter PCR reactions in 0.2 ml thin-walled PCR tubes on ice, using each primer set according to the written protocol. If the DNA concentration is low, more DNA can be added to each reaction, while adjusting the amount of nuclease-free double distilled water so that the total reaction volume remains 50 microliters. Do not use more than 5 microliters of DNA or 10% of the total volume per reaction, as impurities contained in the DNA samples may inhibit PCR reactions. To ensure that all PCR reagents are working well, set up the positive control using the positive control primers. Set up the negative control using the same control primer set as the positive control, but with double distilled water instead of the extracted DNA. At this point, there are a total of 4 PCR reactions for each sample being tested. Next, carry out PCR amplifications in a thermocycler equipped with a heated lid using the PCR cycling parameters in the written protocol. Optimization for primer annealing temperature, extension times, and number of cycles may be needed depending on the quality of the DNA, primers, Taq polymerase, or the type of thermocycler used. Once the PCR reactions are complete, separate the PCR products on a 1% agarose gel using standard electrophoresis. Run the samples at around 120 volts until the dye front reaches 3/4 of the total length of the gel. Visualize the gel under UV light and inspect the resulting bands to see if an appropriate DNA fragment was amplified. This representative gel shows the results of electrophoresis of PCR products derived from Kogon grass, Japanese bloodgrass, and Japanese bloodgrass revert DNA samples, combined with Kogon grass and JBG-specific primers, as well as the tern-LF positive control and a no-template negative control. The tern-LF positive control primer set works equally well for Kogon grass, Japanese bloodgrass revert, and other grasses, and will result in a band that is 890 base pairs. If all PCR reagents are free of DNA contaminants, the negative control reaction will not result in a PCR product. If the DNA sample is derived from wild-type Kogon grass, a PCR reaction using the Kogon grass-specific primer set will result in a single band at around 595 base pairs, while the JBG-specific primers will result in no band. Likewise, if the DNA sample is derived from JBG or reverted JBG, a PCR reaction using the JBG-specific primer set will result in a single band at around 594 base pairs, while the Kogon grass-specific primers will result in no band. Because JBG and reverted JBG have identical nucleic acid sequence, they will hence have identical banding patterns. However, morphological differences between JBG and JBG reverts are fairly obvious, so while the PCR results will be the same, the JBG varieties are easy to distinguish at the plant level.
DNA sequencing of the PCR products can identify possible changes in DNA sequences for different Kogon grass ecotypes. The development of this technique provides the first simplified molecular method that can accurately distinguish between wild-type Kogon grass and the reverted form of its ornamental variety, Japanese bloodgrass. We encourage users of this protocol to contact us to report the results derived from the use of this protocol. Such shared information will help provide information on the distribution of Japanese bloodgrass. This will also help regulators at the USDA make informed decisions on actions that might be needed to circumvent the spread and potential hybridization of the highly invasive Kogon grass varieties.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're uncovering a wild botanical mystery hiding right in your backyard.
To get it, we've got to look at literally one of the worst invasive plants on Earth.
It's called wild-type Kogon grass. This devastating weed is wrecking agriculture in 73 different countries. Crazy, right? Globally, it chokes out over 490 million hectares, totally bullying out native plants and animals. Just in the US, it blankets 500,000 hectares down south, and it's spreading super fast.
Now, check out the difference between this green monster and its bright red cousin.
Millions of us buy Japanese bloodgrass, or JBG, thinking it's a completely safe, sterile ornamental.
But here's the catch. The disguise slips. Can this safe plant actually turn invasive?
Yup, under the right conditions, JBG drops the red act, turns green, and makes viable seeds.
And get this, even trained experts literally can't tell this green revert apart from invasive Kogon grass.
Scientists use DNA to confirm this sneaky reversion is already happening in Maryland, South Carolina, and Missouri.
Since they look like normal weeds, gardeners just pull them up, so the true spread is totally unknown. This whole hidden reversion thing, it sets the stage for an absolute ecological nightmare. If a revert crosses with Kogon grass, it creates an ultra-aggressive, cold-hardy, shade-tolerant superweed.
Authorities are desperately trying to ban JBG sales in infested states to keep these two separated.
But as both plants march further north, keeping them apart is, honestly, becoming incredibly tough. So here's the big question. How do we actually identify a dangerous imposter we can't even see? Well, old DNA sequencing was just way too slow and expensive for massive, wide-scale testing. The new solution? A fast, cheap PCR test that acts like a definitive genetic fingerprint.
Catching these reverts with DNA means we can finally stop this unstoppable superweed hybrid from forming.
Next time you're at a nursery, you gotta ask yourself, what else is hiding in plain sight?